teachers, what is the most disturbing thing you've heard a student say? His name was Tyler. On paper, he was the kind of student every teacher wanted. Neat handwriting, polite smile, always raised his hand before speaking. To adults, he was sweetness personified. He said yes ma'am and thank you, and brought extra pencils for the class. But there was something about the way other students looked at him, his quiet unease, that made me pay attention. I taught 5th grade that year, and by October, little things started to pile up. Students who usually got along suddenly stopped talking, whispered arguments in the hallway, a few kids crying quietly at their desks during group work. When I asked what was going on, no one wanted to name it, but I started hearing the same phrase over and over. Tyler told me to. It started small, telling kids to give him their snacks, making them switch seats, whispering insults under his breath. But the second an adult entered the room, Tyler would snap back into his angelic act. His tone softened, his smile returned, and he'd ask innocent questions about homework like nothing had happened. One afternoon, I overheard him cornering a shy boy named Malik near the coat hooks. Tyler's voice was low, sharp. "If you don't let me use your Chromebook tomorrow, I'm telling everyone you cheat." When I stepped closer, he turned and instantly changed. "Oh, hi, Ms. Green," he said, grinning wide. "I was just helping Malik find his hat. That was his talent, switching masks in a split second." I called his mom, Mrs. Yates, hoping to find a partner in handling the behavior. She answered with a brittle, practiced sweetness. "Oh, I just don't know what's gotten into these kids accusing my boy," she said. "He's such a sensitive soul. Maybe they're jealous?" When I gently tried to explain what other students had reported, she let out a shaky sigh. "You know, people have always picked on Tyler. We moved school so much because of it. It's really sad." Every conversation ended with her crying about how the world was too harsh for her son. Then came the day that pulled everything into the open. I had introduced Flipgrid, a video-based app for assignments. Students would record themselves giving short presentations, which only classmates could view. It was supposed to make learning fun and interactive. I explained the rules carefully. Be respectful, stay on topic, keep it school appropriate. I gave them 30 minutes to record. Most students laughed, made jokes, and got into it. Tyler asked if he could redo his video a few times. I didn't think much of it. But later that afternoon, while grading, I opened his latest upload. At first, it looked normal. He was sitting at his desk talking into the camera. Then, mid-sentence, his tone changed. He turned his head slightly, like addressing someone off-screen, and suddenly began spitting out racial slurs, words that made my stomach drop. He used Malik's name directly. His face was calm, deliberate, even smiling as he said them. He must have thought I couldn't see the drafts. But Flipgrid saves every submission, even deleted ones. I sat frozen for a moment, replaying it once to be sure, and then emailed our principal immediately. Within 10 minutes, she was in my classroom. We watched it together, silent. That afternoon, Tyler was pulled from recess. His mom was called in for a conference. She arrived in a flurry, hair perfectly curled, face set in disbelief. The moment the principal began to speak, Mrs. Yates' hand went to her chest. "This is outrageous," she said. "Someone must have doctored that video. Tyler would never say something like that. He's terrified of that kind of language." We showed her the recording. Her face flickered, but she didn't back down. "You don't understand," she said, her voice trembling now. "He's been bullied for years. He's just defending himself the only way he knows how." Even Tyler, sitting beside her, didn't look remorseful. He looked bored. His fingers tapped against the table rhythmically, while his mom cried and begged the principal to see him as a victim. The principal's voice stayed even. "Mrs. Yates, this isn't defensiveness, it's harassment. We have it on video." By the next morning, Tyler was no longer on my roster. The official story was that his parents had decided to transfer him for a better fit. The day after he left, the entire class seemed lighter. Malik smiled for the first time in weeks. The quiet tension that had hung over everything dissolved. But what stuck with me wasn't the relief. It was the moment Tyler walked out of the office with his mother, hand in hers, looking utterly unbothered. She had tears streaming down her face, muttering about unfair treatment, while he glanced back through the glass door at me and smiled. Not a friendly smile, a knowing one. I've taught hundreds of students since then, but I still remember that look. The way he could switch from charm to cruelty in the blink of an eye. The way his mother protected him from the consequences every time. And how, when finally caught, he still didn't look sorry, only disappointed that his performance had ended too soon. He must